Soft background music fades in, suspenseful yet emotional tone. What would you do if you saw a child hanging from a fifth-floor fire escape, seconds away from falling? Most people freeze. But one man didn't. That man was Jamal Cain, an immigrant delivery driver from Senegal, living a quiet life in Brooklyn. He had no fame, no fortune, and no safety net. But what he did next would not only save a life. It would awaken a past he thought he'd buried. And change his future forever. Stay till the end, because what happens after his heroic act will shock you. The evening sky over Flatbush, Brooklyn glowed in hues of burnt amber and violet. Food vendors shouted in a dozen languages, bikes zipped by, and the smell of grilled kebabs mixed with city smoke. Among them was Jamal Cain, a 28-year-old food delivery driver. Sweat streaked down his forehead as he balanced his worn bicycle outside a busy cafe, waiting for his last order. To most, he was invisible, just another delivery guy blending into the city's rhythm. But Jamal carried something deeper inside him, a quiet strength, shaped by hardship, molded by survival. Just as he adjusted his helmet to go home, a scream cut through the noise. "Help! Somebody help!" Jamal froze. Across the street, a crowd had gathered near an old brick apartment. Then he saw it, a child, no older than 5, dangling from a fifth-floor fire escape, his small hands slipping. Panic rippled through the onlookers. Someone yelled, "Call 911." Another cried, "He's gonna fall." But Jamal didn't wait. He dropped his bike and sprinted across the street, his heart hammering against his ribs. The fire escape's bottom ladder was jammed several feet above the ground, too high to reach. Without hesitation, he leapt, catching the rusted rung with raw fingertips. The metal groaned, but it held. Gasps filled the air as Jamal began climbing. His muscles screamed in protest. Sweat dripped into his eyes. Below, people shouted prayers. Above, the child whimpered, tears streaking his cheeks. "Hold on!" Jamal yelled. "Don't let go, I'm coming." Step by step, balcony by balcony, he climbed. Each pull was agony, but fear never won. When he reached the 5th floor, the child's grip slipped, and Jamal lunged forward, catching him just as his tiny hands gave way. The world below exploded in cheers. Phones flashed. Voices cried out. But Jamal didn't hear them. He only whispered softly to the trembling boy. "You're safe now. I've got you." As he climbed back down with the child in his arms, the crowd parted like waves. A man in his 50s, weathered face, calm eyes, stepped forward and said quietly. "That was brave, son. Not everyone would have done what you just did." Jamal just nodded, confused. He didn't yet know that this man, Walter Hargrove, a retired fire captain, would soon change his life forever. That night, Jamal returned to his cramped apartment, his body aching, his mind racing. His roommates were asleep, the air thick with the smell of rice and fried onions. He sat on his bed, staring at his hands, the same hands that once hauled fishing nets back home in Senegal, and hours ago had pulled a child from death. He thought of his father, Jamal Cain, a fisherman and philosopher, whose voice echoed in his memory. "Life will test you, my son. The question is not if you'll fall, but whether you'll rise again." Jamal's journey to Brooklyn had been long and brutal. He had crossed deserts, survived detention camps, and clung to a sinking boat in the Mediterranean. He'd lost friends along the way. But he had never lost his father's words. And tonight, those words had guided his every move. The next morning, his roommate Amadou burst into the room shouting. "Jamal! You're on the internet." On his phone, a video played, Jamal climbing the fire escape, captured from 3 different angles. Millions had already watched it. The caption read, "Real-life Spider-Man saves child in Brooklyn." Jamal's face, once unknown, was everywhere. Reporters called. Strangers stopped him in the street. Even his boss at the restaurant said, "You're good for business, kid, but you better learn how to handle the spotlight." But not all the attention was kind. Online threads began to question him. Is he even legal? Probably did it for fame. Another immigrant looking for sympathy. The same city that cheered him one night, began to whisper the next. Still, Jamal kept working, quiet, humble, resolute. But deep inside, doubt began to creep in. Had his courage just painted a target on his back? Then came a message that changed everything. Hi Jamal, my name is Monica Cruz. I'm a journalist. I want to tell your story, the right way. Monica met Jamal in a small Brooklyn cafe. She wasn't like other reporters. No lights. No cameras. Just a notebook and eyes that truly listened. Why did you do it? She asked. I don't know, Jamal said softly. I just couldn't stand still. As he spoke, the truth of his journey unfolded, his father's illness, his mother's sacrifice, the silver bracelet his family sold to pay for his passage. Monica listened, tears welling in her eyes. What you did wasn't just brave, she said. It was human. And the world needs more of that. Her article, The Climb That Changed a Community, went viral. But instead of sensationalism, it told the truth. It showed the boy's mother visiting Jamal, hugging him with tears streaming down her face. It showed the Senegalese community rallying behind him, calling him their son, their pride. For the first time in years, Jamal felt seen, not as an immigrant, not as a worker, but as a man of worth. Then one evening, as Jamal locked up his bike outside his building, he saw him again, Walter Hargrove, the retired fire captain. Walter handed him a card. You've got instinct, son. I've seen men with training freeze when it mattered most, but not you. You ever thought about becoming a firefighter? Jamal's heart skipped. He hadn't, not seriously. But something about the offer felt right. Walter smiled. The city needs men like you, Jamal. Courage isn't in the uniform, it's in the heart. That night, Jamal stared at the card for hours. Could a man like him, an undocumented immigrant, ever wear that badge? He didn't know. But he knew one thing, he wanted to try. Weeks passed. Monica's story opened doors Jamal never imagined. A local councilman heard of his heroism and arranged a visa review. Walter mentored him, teaching him the basics of rescue work, the discipline of the job, the courage under pressure. Every morning before dawn, Jamal trained, climbing, running, studying. And every evening, he sent money home to Senegal, where his mother's proud letters reminded him. You are the tallest tree, Jamal. You bend, but you do not break. Months later, on a crisp autumn morning, Jamal stood in front of the FDNY Academy gates, his name officially listed among the recruits. Walter clapped him on the shoulder. Welcome to the Brotherhood, kid. Tears burned in Jamal's eyes. From the dusty shores of Senegal, to the fire escapes of Brooklyn, he had climbed farther than anyone could see. He wasn't just saving lives anymore. He was building one. Jamal Cain's story reminds us that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes, they wear delivery bags and carry hope. One man's courage that night didn't just save a child. It saved a community's faith in kindness, in resilience, in humanity. Because sometimes, the greatest climbs aren't made with hands, but with the heart. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe for more stories that remind us what it means to rise. This was The Climb That Changed Everything.